My mother-in-law showed up at my house with like a bunch of bags. She was expecting to kick me out of my house, but little did she know my name was on every single deed to the house, and I'm the breadwinner. Oh, what a shock it was. My husband allows his mom to make decisions when it comes to how we raise our kids, but every time I try to contact her, she ignores me. I'm in a very weird situation with my mother-in-law because I don't know what her problem with me is. I think that she does not think that I'm good enough to be her daughter-in-law, let alone have a conversation with her. I do not know much about her despite having seen her so many times in the 5 years that I've been married to my husband, but I do know that she was not a fan of the fact that we had a child before we got married, and that child is now 7 years old. My sister-in-law was kind enough to explain that she's very old-fashioned, and that's also why she has a hard time getting along with her mother. Needless to say, my mother-in-law is a bit of a diva. She's the matriarch of the family, and everyone seems to just jump when she tells them to. I find it hard following instructions from somebody who I'm not related to, and who will not even acknowledge me just once. Well, it was gone on now for years, with several incidents happening over the years. For example, she did not want my son to be Christianed in her church. When he was born, my husband and I were still dating, and I did not have plans to get married. But I did want my son to be Christianed into his father's church, but when we got there, the ceremony was canceled last minute, and the priest told me that it's better to have it done at my family church. This was completely unheard of, and I was sure that my mother-in-law used her influence and got the priest to refuse to do the ceremony. Well, this hurt, because I just wanted my son to be accepted into the family. After my son turned 2, my husband and I decided to get married. His mother refused to come to our house and visit us, and when I went to her house, she completely ignored me, and I ended up not going to her house because it was always so embarrassing. The worst part was that no one in the family reprimanded her. My father-in-law is barely present, physically or mentally. He just stays in his tool shed all day and listens to 80s music. I've barely spoken to him more than 10 times the entire time that I've been married. My parents know about the weird dynamic of his family, and they told me that they did not want me to marry him when I told them that we wanted to get married. But I managed to make a strong argument about how we were stronger as a pair than apart, and we did, well, love each other. My husband proposed to me with his grandmother's ring, and we set a wedding date. My mother-in-law did not show up at the wedding. She had a business trip, she claimed, and she did not send a wedding present or well wishes, but we thought that it was still early days, and she would come around, but spoiler alert, she never did. She hated me, and I had no idea why. Over the past couple of years, she moved out of the country. She and her husband are very wealthy and are always taking long vacations when they can. Sometimes they can be gone for months. They always bring gifts for my husband and kids, but for me, there's nothing. Over the years, I've stopped trying and just resigned myself to the fact that I do not have a mother-in-law, and she will never accept me. While this is a very painful thing to come to terms with, it's brought me a bit of peace. However, she's continued to ruin my life in a way that she can, and the latest, well, came in her trying to interfere with how I raise my children. For context, I've just given birth to a baby girl. She's healthy and 6 months old, and I'm still trying to regain my strength and should be working by the end of the year. So my husband is the only one who's working at the moment, and my daughter's recently received a package from her grandmother. It contains some of the best state-of-the-art baby toys, designer clothes, etc., as well as things to make our lives easier. I sent her a thank you card knowing that I was not going to get a response, but this time, my husband told me that she was actually going to be donating some equipment to my son's football team as well. She can be generous when she wants, and when she is, I don't mind as long as she's treating my children well. I do not mind when they go and visit her, because while she might dislike me, she more than adores her grandchildren. But then my husband told me that there was a catch to her donating, to the school, and that was that she did not want my son to be vaccinated. She apparently read some studies
That proved that vaccinating children would end up, developing slower. Mind that my son has already been vaccinated against most things at the age of 7. He's around the age where he needs his shots, otherwise he'll get sick. I was shocked and upset by her suggestion. I sent her a message telling her that we already decided that my son was getting his full vaccinations. She told me that she was his grandmother and would make sure that he was not in any danger. I damaged him enough when I responded to her. She ignored me, and when I called her on the phone, it just went to voicemail. It's worth noting that no one's seen her in over the 3 years since she's gone overseas. I'm not about to trust the opinion of some person who will not even acknowledge me and has some backward views. While my husband tries to remain neutral, I know that he agrees with me. At least that's what I thought. When I heard about what she wanted, I got mad, and obviously I spoke to him about it and told him how it made me feel. He told me that maybe it was not such a bad idea. It was just a small thing. That donation will mean the whole world to my son and his football team. But I argued that our son could get sick just because of his mother and her outdated views. I just told him that I was tired of her controlling, and that was happening in this house when she was all the way over there in another country. If she wanted to stop me, then she was going to have to come back to this country and face me. I'm tired of listening to her and letting her decide what's right for me and what is not. Well, can you believe what my husband said? He said that he's the one paying all the bills, including his son's medical bills, so he doesn't see what right I have to be making such decisions. I told him that we could just cut me off for all I cared, but I was not going to let his control freak of a mother put my son in danger. Never have I even seen a man so offended before. He told me that if I wanted, I could leave this house, but I had to leave his kids. I was fuming, but I decided to leave the situation. Later on, his phone rang while it was on the counter. I called him, but he didn't answer because he was still sulking like a baby. So I did what I thought was best and answered the call, which was coming from his mom. The first thing she did was ask if that useless woman, assuming she meant me, had finally learned her place, and I could not control myself, and unleashed verbal diarrhea on her. Wow. She hung up on me while I was still talking, and after giving her a piece of my mind, I felt good. But do you know who did not feel good and is mad at me now? My husband, because his mom pulled the funding and now the coach and the kids are disappointed. My son found out and he's blaming me for his teammates being mad at him. I mean, did I go too far? And how can I fix this? Because the last thing I want is for my son to hate me. Update number 1. I managed to fix it. My mother-in-law was obviously happy about the way she made me out into a villain. The past week has been hell. Mothers of children who were on the same team as my son have been harassing me and calling me selfish. These are the same mothers who have been very focused on their kids' health and getting them their immunizations. These are people I asked for advice when I was deciding that he needed to get vaccinated, but now they've turned on me and it feels terrible. My husband will not even talk to me. This is the longest that we've ever gone without talking, and it's killing me, if I must be honest. I just wanted to do what was best for my son's health. Is doing the right thing really such a terrible thing? I've talked to his sister about this. She's the only member of his family that I trust who's not turned on me when his mother has made my life hell. She told me that he was very upset about the way I talked to his mother and found that it was disrespectful. She told me that one thing which his mother hated about me was apparently how I was so vulgar and disrespectful. She kept on telling him that he made a mistake marrying me, so he should marry somebody else who does not embarrass him like I do. For a moment, those words stung, but what angered me was how she had managed to turn my family against me. I decided that I was done letting her win, and I made a call. I've been working in publishing, marketing, and even PR for many years, so I know people, and I have people that I've done massive favors for who still owe me to this day. I called in one of those favors and got a sponsorship that was far greater than the one that my mother-in-law had been offering. The person who offered to sponsor the team was much more influential and popular among the youth than she was. When I went to the school in order to facilitate the negotiations and get everything done, I was damn proud of myself. Once news spread about what I've done, suddenly I was no longer the pariah. My husband started speaking to me again, but he did not apologize. I will not make him apologize, mainly because I know that when it comes to his mom, it's a losing game. It's just a pity that I'm the one who's always there for him and she's never there. I hope one day he sees who he really is on his side. Update. We're in a crisis and need her help, but she's nowhere to be found. Remember the time when I said that his mother chooses when she's there for him? Well, it's no surprise that she does that again now. So, it's been 6 months since the drama with the vaccination. Life went back to normal and I did not have any interaction with his mom. According to my sister-in-law, Sylvia, her mother is on a lifestyle retreat and has chosen not to be a part of society for a while. Her father, on the other hand, has come back, but he's under the care of a nurse and has not been feeling very well. Everyone has been speaking about how mother-in-law's selfish for leaving and going no contact with everyone. People have tried to get a hold of her and have given up. We only got a response once, and she told us that she was going to be back next year, but we have no business in trying to snoop on her life and prevent her progress. My theory is that she was so embarrassed after I outsmarted her and got the sponsorship that she decided to hide. But her hiding has only harmed the family and not helped it. Several things have happened in the family, which has brought the emotional strain on my husband. I can tell that he needs her, but she just cannot be bothered, which makes me very, very angry. His father has gotten sick and is bedridden most of the time. I've had to start working, so that means he has to take on more tasks of driving the kids everywhere and helping with his father's health. Sylvia could help, but hey, she's dealing with her own tragedy, and her situation's what hurts me the most and makes me hate her mom for just leaving like that. Sylvia lost her baby when she was giving birth. The child was stillborn. Shortly after this, her marriage began to crumble and her husband left. They're not divorced, but are separated, and it's quite well known that he wants to leave her and he blames her. I've tried to help as much as I can, but she says that she just needs her mom to know that her granddaughter is no more. I don't know what's wrong with this woman and her ill treatment of her family, who loves her very much, but she's gone way too far now, and I can see that the family's turning their back on her. In her absence, I've taken over most duties, and I'm slowly taking over her place. She must be careful that when she comes back, everyone will have decided that they're tired of her and her selfish nature, and they respect me instead. Updates. 1 year later. Guess who showed up at my doorstep with a lot of bags and nowhere to go because she blew all her money? Yeah. She had a very crazy story to tell me, as if I even, thought it was a valid reason for her missing out on her husband's funeral. My father-in-law passed away several months ago, and while we sent messages to her telling her what happened, she opened them and simply did not respond. We got somebody to track her and find out that, she is alive. She was living her best life. So, my husband decided that he was done and she was dead to him. The past few months have been the best because we have had, a talk about her. She's pretty much a ghost. We accepted that she does not want to be found, but yet again, she's come back and she just wants to ruin my life. I know that this is personal because when she came back, she found out that everyone now preferred me to her. My husband's let her stay in our house because she has nowhere to go and has even given her a chance to tell her full story. I'll summarize it so that you can see whether you want to believe her or not. She said that she met a guru who promised to help her fix her life and reach herself. Self-actualization, but for that to happen, she has to give up earthly goods. So she did that and put everything in his name. He also took over her communication with the outside world. He did not tell her when her family needed her, and you should have seen the tears in my husband's eyes as he believed that nonsense. So, long story short, she managed to wake up from the manipulation and come back home, but she has nothing and everyone hates her. She went down on her knees crying and begging my husband to just please forgive her. Surely he would see through her lies and tell her to go back where she came from. She was not there for almost 4 years, and all she ever did was cause trouble in his life. He said that he believed her and wanted to give her a second chance, then he ordered me to run her a bath and cook a meal for her. Oh, I was boiling with anger and told him to do it himself. The past few days have been tense and she's everywhere and she's just slowly starting to put a rift between myself and Jeffrey. I don't know what to do. Maybe I should just admit defeat. She is his mother and she has a lot of control over him that I do not. Woe is me, what did I do to have her come back into my life? Before it was bad, now that she's living with me, it's even worse. Can somebody just have me, get saved from this nightmare? Update, I am in a crisis. The problem that I had last week are nothing compared to what's happening right now. I wish I had seen this coming, but I was too focused on my mother-in-law, as well as her attempts to discredit me. She slowly worked through the family and made them believe that she had really been scammed and had no idea about all that's been happening. Most of the people in the family believed her because that was the easiest thing to do and they did not really care. They stuck up to whomever they felt like any time that they wanted as long as it benefited them. Just a few weeks ago, they were supporting me, but now they're not. But do you know who is supporting me? My sister-in-law, Sylvia. She still does not forgive her mom for not being there for her. She told me that even when her mother was overseas, she's never made time with her. When she needed emotional support, she gave half-butted support and was not genuine. Right now, she's going through a divorce, and I've been there for her. This triggers her memories of losing the baby, and I feel so bad for her. I've never been through that, and I hope I never have to go through that ever in my life, because that would crush me. Needless to say, these have been some very eventful weeks, and I've been thinking of the best way to tell her that she needs to leave, but my husband has been reluctant about letting her leave. I had no idea that all this time he was hiding something very big from us, and that this something was that his life was in danger, and he was not getting proper treatment. I found out about his lies when the doctor called me and told me that he had collapsed and that he had been having symptoms for a couple months now, but they had not been able to properly diagnose him. He also has been skipping appointments. He was asleep when I found out about this, and they did tell him not to emotionally strain him, so I did not get to ask him why he had been downplaying his health status like this. Some family members have been to the house throughout the day, and they've been so helpful with their prayers and well wishes. My mother-in-law is going to spend the night at the hospital while I take care of the kids and go visit him tomorrow. I still have to work and do not have many leave days because of the time I was on maternity leave. I'm stressed, I'm scared. I cannot believe that all this is happening to him, and he did not say anything. I wish that I had paid attention to his symptoms and prevented this. We're waiting to hear what our options are. Update, I can't believe the nerve of this woman. My husband worsened in the middle of the night, suffering from a brain hemorrhage. My mother-in-law called me and told me that I had to make an urgent decision because they needed to go into surgery fast, and I consented to it even though I did not know the risk. When I got there, I was told the surgery had been halted. It took me less than 20 minutes to get there because it was 5 a.m. in the morning, and it appeared that everyone thought it would be a good idea to travel. But when I got there, I was told that my mother-in-law wanted to contest the surgery. I asked why, since my husband and her son were clearly dying and needed the surgery to save his life. She told me that there's a chance that he would die or never be the same again, and I shouted at her for being so stupid and informed her that I was next of kin and would sue her if she got in the way. Then I told the doctors go ahead. I was forceful that this time she did not even reply. She just sat in the corner quietly. Imagine if I had gotten there later and she managed to get them to not do the surgery. Then she would have let him brave it out and die instead of trying to save his own life. I've been waiting in the emergency room for the past couple of hours and I cannot seem to get any help. I got Sylvia to take kids to school and I've not heard anything yet, but I think that the surgery will be a success. But even then, we'll have to think about his brain tumor and how it's going to affect him in the long run. He's far too young for this, and he's just lost his father. I don't get why he has to go through this when he's always been a good person. Then there is his mother, who does not seem to give a darn about him, and all she cares about is his money. She must give me one reason, just one reason why I should not kick her out, and, well, I will not hesitate. She thinks that I'm her friend, but I'm not. She has to leave. I'll allow her son to recover, then I will tell him that I don't trust her around the family. I wish that she just stayed wherever she was, overseas, instead of moving back here with us. I don't know what her motive is, but, well, I guess in the past 24 hours have taught me anything, it's to focus on the problems I have now and think about the rest tomorrow. Update 2 weeks later. Hey, I have good news, and I have bad news. My husband's just gotten discharged, the surgery went well, and there were no further complications. He'll need some bed rest and might have a problem with waking and speech for a while, but they're sure that he'll make a full recovery. They've also determined that they were able to remove most of the tumors, and they found the rest of the tumor was benign. He's been home for a while now, and I've been taking care of him 24/7. I appreciate all the little moments a little bit more now that I've nearly lost him, and I wish for a speedy recovery. I've been so focused on him that I do not observe my mother-in-law and what she was planning. Well, until she struck when I was least expecting. Our house is an old family house that my husband was given by his family. It used to belong to his grandparents, and according to my mother-in-law, it's hers, and she has given me and my kids a week to find another place to live. She said that her son can stay for as long as possible, but she does not want me to stay in the same house as her anymore. She's used what happened to accuse me of not being a good wife to my husband, and by the way, he knows nothing about this drama that's happening between Mother and, well, I would like it if it stayed that way. If he finds out, I'm afraid that his condition might worsen. She basically just came to me when I was in the kitchen and told me that she's given me many chances to prove myself to be a worthy daughter over the years, but I've fallen flat and worst of all challenged her. She never thought of kicking us out of her house, which she had gifted to her son and whose title deeds were in her name, but then she heard me speaking to someone on the phone about how I wanted to kick her out, and she thought I was being too smart for my own good. So, she wants me out of the home. She's told the family that I plotted to let her son die in surgery when she is the one who did. Because of that, the whole family suspects me and feels that if I leave, it'll be justified. I don't want to lie. I have nowhere to go because my family lives far away. If I were to move, it would be difficult to change jobs and take my husband with considering his condition. But I've seen the title deeds which state that it is her house, and as a homeowner, she's allowed to kick me out and let whoever she wants stay. But I cannot bear the thought of letting my husband stay with her because I don't trust her. I know there's nothing any of you can do to help me, but I would really like some positive affirmations. Wish me luck, I think of what to do. Update. My sister-in-law and my mother-in-law had a very bad fight. The only person in the family who believes that I'm innocent is my sister-in-law, Sylvia. I had to leave the house a couple days ago, but I had nowhere to stay. So she invited me to stay with her since she had a big empty house after she got divorced. She said that she believed me, but she knew that no one else would, and things were already starting to look bad for my reputation. A few people whom I thought I was good friends with have started to treat me differently ever since what happened, and I know it's because of what my mother-in-law said. My husband is not fully functioning yet and is out of it most of the time, so he doesn't know that I'm gone yet. I visit once a day, at least she lets me and the children visit, but she looks at me like I'm a vermin. She has already started to decorate and make house, her own. When I told my sister-in-law this, she was fuming and told me that I had to fight her because she was being disrespectful and needed someone to put her in her place. But I gave up. She's won and she has the papers which prove that the house is hers. All I can do is make alternate living arrangements while my husband recovers. Then we can put her out of our lives. When he wakes up, I'll tell him everything, and Sylvia says that she has my back. I just know how far she's willing to back me up when today we bumped into my mother-in-law at the grocery store. I greeted her out of courtesy, but she did not speak to me. She did address Sylvia, though, asking, and I quote, "Why are you even supporting this snake?" Sneering at her. Sylvia uttered some very serious profanities and told her mother to grow up and stop being so cold-hearted. She told her that if she kept on acting like that, then she was going to die alone. Once Sylvia's brother woke up, the truth about her would be revealed and we would all disown her. They went on at it for some time until I broke it up. I felt like it was going to get physical. I've decided that I'm going to fetch my husband in a few days. There is an apartment lined up for us. It's not as big as our house, but it's something for us to live in, so I think it'll be perfect. Update. Turns out, the house is mine. Hey guys, I followed through with what I said I was going to do, which was take my husband and move to a new apartment. When I came to fetch him, he asked me why we were leaving our house, and I told him that his mother kicked us out because she hates me. I was still a bit angry, but I controlled how I was feeling. The last thing I wanted was for him to get triggered. I also did not have that much time. She was basically rushing me to take him and leave. "Remember, it's her house," I explained. He was speaking a bit slowly and his mind was a bit foggy, and he just shook his head and told me that it was his father's. Well, I told him that even then she held the title deeds. He told me that he did not want to move before we spoke to his mother. Well, I was confused as ever. The proof was right there. There was nothing for them to talk about. She arrived, sure enough, and did not seem alarmed when he asked her what she was doing. Well, she said that she did not want me in her home, which did not extend to him, and she was willing to let him stay until he recovered. Mom, I thought I was dreaming when I heard you." "Well, you knew I kicked you out, so why are you acting so shocked? You can leave with her if you want." She was starting to look very annoyed with that expression on her face, and she was being super defensive. He just laughed and told her that we were going nowhere, because this was his wife's house, and he was not talking about that. "I'm talking about the time you were willing to let me die and not let them operate on me. I heard you after the surgery, but I thought I was dreaming, Mother. I guess it would make it so much easier for you to take my father's assets, would it not be? Ha ha. Wait a minute. This was too much to digest. She nearly choked on her own spit when she asked, "How can this house belong to your wife?" It was Father's, Mother. I found out about my situation when he was still alive and asked him to put it in my wife's name because I didn't know how much longer I'd have. And I did not want to go through the hospitals. Those deeds you have are invalid and would never hold up in court. If only I had just asked him in the beginning instead of just jumping into conclusions and letting her run me out of my home. I take back all that I said. My husband really does care about me and does have a brain that does not revolve around his mother. This was all such a surprise, but I'm glad that all this turned out this way. She's laughed, probably went to live with somebody else or has gone to a motel. She did not have much to say after my husband schooled her. It was my first time seeing her speechless, and to be honest, it was very satisfying. I finally won against my evil mother-in-law. Update. Well, it appears I spoke too soon. My mother-in-law was AWOL for some days, so we thought that she'd given up. So I moved back in with the kids and started undoing all the work that she's done. Seeing it reminded me of the horror that she put me through. Some days I would forget that she no longer lived with us, and I would start feeling dread when it was time for me to leave for work or go home. But when my husband and my babies greeted me as soon as I walked through the door, I remembered that she was gone and that battle was over. That was until she decided to take me to court, saying that the house was not really in my name and I simply faked it. I asked her to not make a big deal of it since my husband is still recovering and we are dealing with a lot. Well, I normally would not have done it, but I tried to make peace with her. It was clear that she did not want peace, she wanted war. I was tired. The years had been long, and I had fought too much against her. My family was just trying to recover. But it appeared that someone out there was looking out for me because the case was thrown out on the very first day. She had no evidence that was sufficient for her to evict us from the house. She was very angry when she was told to leave us alone, but also looked very defeated. I've not seen her since then, and I would be very happy to never set my eyes on her again. My husband and I have blocked her everywhere as well. Final update. She's left the country for good. She had a farewell party and she sent us invitations, and a lot of people did not attend the party. She does not have anywhere or anyone who still cares about her in this town, and I think it's a great idea for her to leave and never come back. Sylvia told her that she would end up alone one day if she kept up with her schemes, but she chose not to listen, and this was the end result. My husband was now fully recovered and has gone back to work. Recent scans have shown that the tumor is not spreading and will have another operation within a few months, but the doctors feel very, very positive about it. After he has recovered from the upcoming surgery, we're going to go on a family holiday with Sylvia and the children. We've been through a lot, and we feel that the holiday would definitely help us with a bit of a fresh start. So, other than that, life has been drama-free. We're all doing well, and we're slowly forgetting about my mother-in-law. I never thought that the day would come when she was not looming over me and making life hell, but hey, it finally came.
What a nightmare of a mother-in-law. The story did work out in the positive for OP and OP's significant family, and we know that now her husband is returning to work and it seems like everything is looking good. I want to know your thoughts, guys. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and drop a comment down below and let's discuss what you would have done in OP's position to try to battle this annoying mother-in-law. Okay, that's all the stories for today, but if you guys want daily stories just like today, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button for daily videos. Once again, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate these sort of drama stories every single day. I hope to see you guys tomorrow, but I do want you to remember one thing. It's cool to be kind. Peace.